I'm back. Now, before I get into the topic of this video, I want to shout out this person right here. In my last video, I got one viewer and I got one comment, meaning that I have a 100% viewer interaction rate. And that's impressive. I mean, like, can JonTron say that? No. Yeah, that's right. I'm comparing myself to JonTron, and yes, I'm saying I'm better than him. Alright, now on to the video. After making my first video, I thought to myself, I really need to find a way to promote my Twitter. But I don't want to make a random video and just force in, oh, hey guys, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Dr. Mr. Sir 3. Instead, I should make a video about Twitter. That way it doesn't feel as forced when I say, oh, hey guys, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Dr. Mr. Sir 3. So here we are. Now, Twitter is by far my favorite social media brand. I mean, Facebook is full of old people. Snapchat and Instagram just feels forced with all those perfect photos that people are going for. And TikTok is full of children and social media don't really mix and they just cause a bunch of scandals. So that leaves Twitter by default. Now, that doesn't mean Twitter is without its fair share of problems, of course. I mean, the main one being how Twitter changed from a entertainment platform to a opinion sharing platform. And then people just never realized the new rules for the new Twitter. You see, when Twitter first started up, people were still obsessed with getting followers. But back then, tweets were more people trying out new jokes, they were uploading art, putting out creative thoughts, or they were just famous people in Hollywood. But basically, Twitter had a focus on entertainment back then. You had to entertain us in 140 characters, and a lot of creative people were excelling at that. They were making a golden age of Twitter. Also back in the day, the block button was extremely powerful. When people would block you, encourage other people to block you, that was your audience shrinking, because every content creator back then wanted a big audience instead of a specific audience. There was a fine line where people would have to push themselves to stand out, but not go overboard in fear people would start blocking them. It wasn't a great system, but it did satisfy the people. Sadly, not everyone is creative equally. Some people aren't funny, artistic, or original, but they still want that high follower count. They need that dopamine of seeing that follower number just grow bigger and bigger. So how does ambitious yet dull Joe Schmo over here get followers? Well, that's easy. He just opens his mouth and starts arguing. It should come as no surprise that everyone has an opinion on everything, from TV to politics, and people like being around other people who agree with them. DC and Marvel fanboys like being around other DC and Marvel fanboys. Put one with the other and it turns into a, well, my dad can kick your dad's butt type of argument. So they leave each other alone. Instead of talking about comics, they turn into talking about a brand of comics, a specific audience. Now take that and apply that to everything on Twitter. If the start of Twitter was their golden age, I would call current Twitter the dark ages. And I know you know what I'm talking about. If you go on Twitter and see what's trending, it's the same. It's President Trump does this, protesters do that, the newest thing being canceled or boycotted. And if a company drops enough money, maybe a hashtag promoting their newest product. But it's just trash everywhere, and sadly, it's working. More and more people are joining and arguing with each other than ever before. Not debating, just arguing. Online yelling matches with the dumbest rules ever. I mean, how are you supposed to talk about the morality of being pro-life or pro-choice in 120 characters? You're not. So instead, the two are just yelling and waiting for a spelling mistake. Then they act like Mike Wazowski from Monsters Inc. because somehow a spelling error just means you're wrong. From this change of entertainment to debating, the block button just became useless. Before, it was like a boo button. If creators were getting enough boos, they either had to change or get off the stage. Now, in the debating era, blocking and being blocked goes a little like this. Oh, that is enough. I will no longer waste my valuable time on this dull-headed ape. I will simply block this fool and be done with it. Then on the flip side, we have, yes, another would-be intellectual has been utterly destroyed by me. Look how they block me, running away like a chimp runs from fire. The fool. All right. I see your point. Twitter is full of attention-seeking arguers. Blocking and being blocked only encourages people, and I should never give out my opinion, right? Wrong! I never said that last part. If you want to voice your opinion and speak out, well, that's your goddamn right to do it. So go ahead and say how Hitchhiker's Guide, the book, is better than the movie. Test out that new joke you've been working on. Hell, call out your government representatives on their bullshit. Just remember, not everyone has your opinion, and some might feel strongly the other way. If you see people arguing something on Twitter, it's more likely one of three reasons. A, it's their job to get people to look at them. B, they're trolling a reaction out of you. Or C, they're idiots who actually think their opinion is gospel. Now, option A is the only option I think you should leave alone so you can be challenged. The other two, just ignore them. They thrive on any interactions, including blocks. If you see a crazy person on the street yelling that the moon is made out of cheese, you don't argue with them. You just walk away because you can see it's pointless arguing with them. If you do argue, do you actually think you're going to win? Of course not. So what happens when you walk away out of frustration, aka block them? Well, suddenly that's another victory for Cheese Moon Theory. So to actually sum up this video, let me just tell you my 5 rules of current Twitter. Number 1, don't be afraid to be creative or share your opinions on Twitter. Number 2, Twitter is now full of attention-seeking arguers. 3, blocking and getting blocked will only encourage these bad attention-seeking behaviors. 4, act like an adult and just ignore these people trying to argue for argument's sakes. And number 5, and probably the most important rule, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Dr. Mr. Sir 3.